I grew up in Council Bluffs.
A rope changed your life, JP? A rope?
Yes, a rope, indeed. A rope like
Okay,
that.
so one like that. Well, okay, so you're sharing a story tomorrow about something that really impacted and changed your life, and it has to do with this rope, but it also has to do with the loss of your son.
Yes. Some of you might know, but probably about 4.5 years ago, my son passed away, SIDS, sudden infant death syndrome, in his sleep. And as you can imagine, that's a massive loss. It shakes your whole world upside down. And I was quite devastated, which is to be expected. But for a long time in my life, I was without hope.
JP, amazing idea that a rope could change your perspective on all that. Looking forward to hearing about that. But I think it's super relevant to a lot of people right now, right? I mean, it's not just the COVID-19 things and literally thousands of people dying daily around the world because of that, but it's relevant to every person that's ever lost anybody in their lives.
Yep. If you've lost a grandparent, a parent, a sister, a friend, where are they? What happened with them? What happens after this life? It's a very relevant question.
I've done many funerals in my life, and the one thing that is helpful about that moment of a funeral is everybody not only mourns the loss of somebody else, they're processing their own mortality and the fact that we're all going to die one day, and what's after all that. And that's what we're processing in the series. What's kind of stirring in your heart around this series and the way we live our lives today? What's kind of the big things impacting you?
I think the big things impacting me is the realization that what we do on earth is temporal, but there is an eternity. I think somewhere this week I heard someone comment and said the mortality rate of COVID is like 1 or 2%, but the mortality rate of life is 100%. We're all going to die. And no matter where you are, whether you die at the end of your life or whether Jesus comes before that, this life is going to end. And do we live with only this time in mind, or do we live for eternity? We're living with God. And I think just with the series that we're busy with, you mentioned it last week in Ecclesiastes chapter 3, where it says, God placed eternity in human hearts. And I love that. A beautiful scripture.
Yeah, and what does it mean? What does it mean to have eternity in your heart, and how does that change the way you live? Well, in the series, we're looking at a couple of stories that people are telling about how their lives have been impacted by near-death experiences, which is actually not near-death as much as it's almost like they died and they experienced something on the other side, and they're telling a story. And other than JP sharing this story, we're also looking tomorrow during the service at a lady's joining us called Heidi Barr that had an incredible experience. And I'm excited to hear her story and kind of, Craig Parks is going to do an interview with her live on air with as part of the 512 City Church service. And I want to invite you to watch this video with us as we prepare to listen to a story. This is what it's about.
I grew up in Council Bluffs, Iowa, in a Jewish family. The day in question, it was spring, and I was 16. I brought my sisters with me out to the ranch where we boarded our horse. We were in an accident where another horse ran into my horse. She reared up, flipped over backwards with me on her back, and fell across my body, breaking my pelvis, my back, and crushing my chest. As she hit my chest, I immediately left my body. I was up 30, 40 feet in the air. And I saw my little sister, who could see what was happening from the barn area, and I saw her scream, and my other sister's in the car going like this. And my only thought was, I wish my sisters didn't have to see me die. And as I was up there, this light was shining over my shoulders, and it was illuminating everything in front of me. I realized there was a person standing right there, and he moved forward, and I knew in an instant that I had known him my entire life. He took my hand and we flew. It was like we had this wave of light under our feet pushing us forward. And it was almost as if I could see the stars go by. But I know that there were individual things as we were going faster and faster and faster. And then we seemed to cross this barrier where all things became one thing. And as we crossed that barrier, I saw a light. And it's the brightest thing you can imagine, but I could look at it. Jesus took me directly into the light. And the next thing I knew, I found myself sitting on God's lap. He was all at once my best friend and my dad. And I buried my face against his chest and I put my arms around him and he had his arms around me. And I never, ever wanted to leave. And I could see something infinitely far away as if it was right in front of me. And it was heaven. I could see trees and the flowers, and I could see every detail. I could see every individual blade of grass. As I was sitting there, Jesus said, "You have to go back. You didn't die." I did not want to go back, but he took my hand, and this time there was no flying. We were just pow, right above my body. The instant I woke up, I knew what I had seen, and it was the most real experience I'd ever had in my life.
Well, excited about tomorrow, 10 o'clock, 512 City Church. Join us online. JP, thank you. Excited about this time together.
Cool. See you guys tomorrow.